how the media, politicians, and extremists keep twisting Islam to spread fear and fuel division. The Quran doesn't tell Muslims to kill Christians, it tells them to respect Jews and Christians, people of the book, because they worship the same God. Allah isn't a separate Islamic God. It's just the Arabic word for God, used by Jewish and Christian Arabs long before the Quran. When the Quran mentions non-Muslims, it's usually referring to 7th century Arab pagans, not Jews or Christians, who already believed in the God of Abraham. Muslims are also forbidden from forcing anyone to convert. That's in the Quran too, though most critics haven't read a single verse. So where does the idea come from that Islam wants to destroy Christianity or convert the world? Simple. Propaganda. And yes, some Arab fundamentalists help keep that lie alive. The Western media has been milking the fear of Muslims for decades. Politicians, pundits, and religious fanatics all recycle the same tired script. Islam is violent. Muslims hate Christians. Sharia law is coming for your freedoms. It's a narrative that sells. Fear and division are powerful tools, and they generate clicks, views, and votes. The more outrageous the claims, the more attention they receive. Nuance and context get lost in the sensationalism, but the reality is much more complex. Islam, like any major religion, encompasses a vast diversity of beliefs and practices. While extremist groups like ISIS grotesquely distort the faith, the overwhelming majority of the world's 1.8 billion Muslims practice a religion of peace, compassion, and tolerance. The Quran explicitly states that there is no compulsion in religion and commands Muslims to speak good to people. It instructs followers to give to the relatives, the needy, the traveler, and those who ask for help, and to maintain the ties of kinship. These are hardly the words of a religion bent on destruction and conversion. In fact, the Quran goes to great lengths to affirm the legitimacy of Judaism and Christianity. It refers to Jews and Christians as people of the book, who worship the same God. It praises biblical figures like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. And it commands Muslims to argue with them, Jews and Christians, in a way that is best. This spirit of interfaith respect and cooperation has characterized much of Islamic history. Under the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities often enjoyed greater tolerance and autonomy than in contemporary Christian Europe. Muslim scholars made crucial contributions to fields like mathematics, astronomy, and medicine that laid the foundations for the European Renaissance. Of course, there have been periods of conflict and oppression as well, but the notion that Islam is inherently and uniquely violent is simply not borne out by the historical record. Warfare, conquest, and religious intolerance have been the hallmarks of most major faiths at various points in time. The real problem, then, is not Islam itself, but rather the persistent efforts to distort and demonize it. This propaganda campaign has roots stretching back centuries, from the Crusades to the colonial era, and it continues to this day, fueled by a toxic brew of geopolitical interests, cultural biases, and religious extremism. Take the widespread fear of Sharia law in the West. While Sharia is a complex system of Islamic jurisprudence, in the public imagination it has been reduced to little more than medieval punishments and the oppression of women. In reality, the vast majority of Muslims have no desire to implement Sharia as a legal code in secular nation-states. But that doesn't stop politicians and pundits from raising the specter of Sharia-governed no-go zones and impending theocratic takeover. Similarly, the notion that Muslims hate Christians conveniently ignores the reality of interfaith cooperation and coexistence throughout history. While conflicts have certainly occurred, the Quran's emphasis on respecting the people of the book has led to periods of remarkable interfaith harmony. Muslim rulers often protected the rights of Christian and Jewish minorities, who in turn made vital contributions to Islamic civilizations. Of course, this complex history is inconvenient for those seeking simple narratives of civilizational clash. It's much easier to point to the actions of extremist groups like ISIS or Al-Qaeda and claim they represent the true face of Islam. But this is akin to judging all of Christianity by the Ku Klux Klan or the Westboro Baptist Church. The reality is that the vast majority of Muslims around the world reject such violence and intolerance. They are doctors, teachers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders who simply want to live their lives in peace and practice their faith. But their voices are often drowned out by the shrill cries of demagogues and ideologues. Ultimately, the demonization of Islam serves the interests of those who benefit from fear and division. Politicians use it to win votes and distract from other pressing issues. Media outlets use it to drive engagement and advertising revenue. And extremist groups on both sides use it to radicalize followers and justify their own hateful agendas. The solution, then, is not to ignore or downplay the very real challenges facing the world, from terrorism to religious intolerance, but it is to approach these issues with nuance, empathy, and a commitment to understanding the complexities of history and culture. Only then can we move beyond the simplistic narratives and work towards genuine interfaith cooperation and social harmony.